Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. This is Jay Kloddick. 5 months. 5 months ago, that was when I did my last update. A lot has happened since then. I should have had this model done a long time ago, except I encountered a couple setbacks. But, as you can see sitting in front of you, the 1/350th scale Polar Lights USS Enterprise is almost done. In this shot it kind of looks done, but there's a couple minor things I have to work on with it. So, why is it taking so long for me to shoot an update? Well, I'll go into that in a bit. Some things you'll notice: the model is decaled, the model is flat coated. The stand is painted just like I was telling you I was going to paint it. And all the lights work, thank goodness. The deflector dish is on. I've even got the bussard collectors flat coated really nice. I'm really liking how this turned out. So let's focus on some of the things I've done since the last time you saw it. What you see in front of you is the display stand for the Polar Lights 1/350th scale kit. Since the stand was kind of a hemispherical dome, I came up with the idea, which I talked about in my last video, to paint this thing up to look like a planet. I mean, nothing wrong with having a nice sleek black display base, but I just don't like monotone display bases all that much, and, well, the dome to me kind of looked like the Enterprise orbiting a planet, so this is what you see. Beauty of the Star Trek art department was they provided a lot of inspiration with different planetscapes every month. Occasionally you saw some planets that would appear more than once. My inspiration for this one is a reddish planet that we saw in the first season credit sequence. I believe it was also used as the planet Gothos. So what I did was I sprayed it with Tamiya dull red spray, went over the top with some orange, a little bit of yellow, and then did these nice thin wispy clouds in white, and then I went over the top with some clear tints in spots. There's even some smoke tint on the backside to simulate a Terminator in a shadow, like for the planet Night. And it was very fun to do. The airbrush I utilized was a Neo by Iwata airbrush. It's a double action brush with a really fine nozzle, and for doing this, I mean, doing it freeform like this, it's just a matter of having an idea. You want to get kind of close and keep your air pressure kind of low, and even little happy mistakes can produce some nice effects. The only real deliberate effect I tried to put in was kind of like this Eye of the Hurricane pattern. Like this is some sort of a low pressure system rotating over the planet, so there's like a center eye with a really deep dark shadow, and then the rest of the clouds kind of radiate around it. I do find when you're doing something like this, at least for myself, that if you play some inspirational music while doing this, you can come up with some pretty good effects. So I tried to come up with something really relaxing to come up with this cloudscape pattern, and what I use? Oh, I think I used some Enya tunes. So yeah, basically I had my computer sitting next to my workbench, and put on the headphones, piped in some music, and away I went, and about an hour later I ended up with a planet. So, but I think with every one of my future Polar Lights models, if they have a display base like this, I'm probably going to do something similar. And they're all going to be a little different, so I don't know. For the Defiant, when it comes out, I might do Bajor. For a Klingon ship, I might do Kronos, either before or after Praxis exploded. But for this one, it's your nice, classic, run-of-the-mill art department planet, and awash in classic 1960s colors. So I had fun with it. I hope you try something similar on your project. Let's talk a little about the decal work and the weathering. Aztec Dummy has come out with a set of masking templates that, for those that might want to paint all the markings on their Starship Enterprise models. I went ahead and decided to use the kit decals though for this process, mainly because with adequate preparation I'm fully capable of using decals and overcoming any obstacles that might appear. I've heard some complaints that the round 2 decals might be a little thick, and in my experience, okay, yeah, they're ever so slightly thick, but I had no problems in getting them to work for my uses. What I did was, as you remember, after I put the base coat down and did some paint weathering, then I clear coated the entire model with semi-gloss. You can also do it with a gloss coat. In my case, I used Tamiya semi-gloss because right now they're not making the gloss coat in the spray can. But the semi-gloss worked for my uses, and the reason why you want to do that is because if the paint job is flatter, you get a little, if you were to look at it under a microscope, it would look like a little mountain range. And so if you lay a decal with a bunch of clear film over that, the result is you get what is referred to as decal silvering. It produces a scotch tape appearance, as it were, and makes it look obviously like a decal. So a gloss coat is designed to fill in those little cracks and crevices on a flat surface and gloss it up so that the decal lays down like a nice blanket. At the same time, I used both microsol and microset. Setting solution helps the decals to stick a little better, while a solvent actually eats into the decal film to thin it. And I admit it took a few treatments to get these decals to lay down into this grid work. I even had to utilize another product called Solvaset, and yes, these decals will take Solvaset without getting eaten up, and the results are as you see them. Decal laid down really nice. Another thing I did too before I flat coat before I put the decals down, was I did run a pencil into the panel lines of the grid. Don't know how well you can see it, but it produces a nice effect. And well, how well did it work? Well, once I sprayed the flat coat down over the decals, the clear film disappeared very, very nice. There's not really any bit of a color change. There's only a couple areas where the decal film kind of makes an appearance, and that's mainly over panel lines. So what I did was, and where I had an obvious effect, I would take an X-Acto tip and run it through the grid to cut into the decal and level it out, and then apply a few more drops of solvent to get things to level in really nice. As to the flat coat that I've used, it's a product called Microscale Microflat. It is a water-based acrylic, and it works better than most every other flatting agent I've ever used. I used to use Testors flat quite a bit, but some decals it doesn't produce the same effect. Sometimes you get a little bit of a different sheen appearance from a painted surface to a decaled surface. Microscale, on the other hand, I did not have that problem. Everything dried to a uniform sheen, just the way I want it. As a result, those numbers look like they're painted on. And overall, I'm very satisfied with the work. If you look close, you can see the rust ring under the flat coat. Things have faded back really nice. I didn't do the clear orange like I was thinking about doing, because in hindsight I felt the yellow looked like it worked pretty well. But I've still got to apply some pastel chalk weathering to apply some of the streaks to the front of the saucer, and I may still add a little bit of brown in spots, although like I said, I'm trying to achieve a subtle look and not go too sharp on the contrast. Blue streaks here and on the rest of the saucer came out really well. Now, one of the things I also still have to do yet, if you notice, I've got a whole color painted dome on top of the bridge. That's because I have not installed the inner bridge dome yet. That's the inner bridge set. That's probably the last thing I'm going to do before I declare this model done. So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jay, all this explanation of what you've been doing is all well and good, but why is it taking you 5 months to get from your last video to this one, and what have you been doing in the meantime? Well, why is it taking this long? Part of the reason is what you see in front of you. This is the original secondary hull circuit board for the model, and due to a really bad case of bad luck and also not thinking a couple of things through, well, this is what happened. On the secondary hull, there's 3 little spine lights that go over the shuttle bay, but just in front of the observation dome. One of those little spine lights is actually raised, and when I built the secondary hull, I sanded that particular porthole flush, and I wanted to fix that, so I pulled out my pin vise and drilled out the hole and was going to mount a new piece. However, in the process of drilling the hole, I also managed to drill through one of the power wires going to the lights in the shuttle bay, and basically I killed all 3 LEDs going to the top of the shuttle bay. It was bad. I did attempt to chisel out an access port without having to open up the secondary hull so I could resolder the wire, but in the process of resoldering, I don't know what the heck happened. It may have been because in order to check my circuit, I was trying to solder while the circuit was powered. Well, as a result, I fried that particular LED strand, and not only that, I also somehow produced a power surge, which actually screwed up the timing of the ion pod flashers in the secondary hull. As a result, they were both still lit, but they were kind of flashing in an alternating sequence, and no amount of anything I did could get that fixed. But at the same time too, I now had 3 totally dead LEDs in the back of the secondary hull. Thankfully, I had not started decaling yet. So what I did was, this was about a week before the IPMS Nationals, so I felt like if I had a samurai sword, I was going to gut myself with it, Japanese seppuku style. But I put the model away for a couple days, focused on getting things ready. I had to get ready for IPMS Nationals, went to the show. When I got back, I did what I needed to do. I ordered a new circuit board from round 2, and then I proceeded to open up the secondary hull and pull out the fried wiring harness. About 3 or 4 weeks later, I got my replacement parts from round 2, new circuit board, new wiring harness, reinstalled everything in the secondary hull. This was after a few weeks of just calming down. I just felt burnt out working on this model. Got everything wired back in, put it all back in. It all worked. And then, well, something else happened. Oh yeah, I remember what it was. The replacement circuit board I got from round 2 had a problem where a couple of the plugs actually delaminated off the bottom of the circuit board. And these, funny enough, were the ion pod flasher sockets for the P leads. And I tried resoldering them. They didn't work. I said, great, now I got 2 dead circuit boards. Okay, so I, rather than going to round 2 again because I didn't want to wait, I decided to order another lighting kit because I was thinking, okay, I need another lighting kit anyway because I've got plans to do a pilot version of the Enterprise, and It doesn't use any flashers for the ion pods anyway. Got that, got the new circuit board, proceeded to put it in, and in the process of putting it in, well, the little barbs on the backside in conjunction with how close the power wires are. What essentially happened was one of the power wires actually got poked by one of these little solder barbs, and it produced a short which, well, fried the 555 timer circuit completely. So now I had a total of 3 circuit boards, one of them with a flasher flashing in an alternating sequence, and 2 others with the timer circuit toast. Everything else still worked. And to add insult to injury, it also fried one of the ion pod flasher LEDs in the back of the secondary hull. I'm going, great. And this was after decaling the secondary hull. And so I thought to myself, great, do I have to rip apart the secondary hull again? Fortunately, no, I did not. What I did was I used my Dremel Moto tool to actually chisel around that LED where it was socketed in, popped it out from the outside, fired off another order to round 2, told them about what I did, and they sent me a new circuit board, and that's what's in the model now. So basically when I fried the most recent circuit board was about mid-November. I got the new circuit board a little before Christmas, and well, I'm happy. Everything works. I managed to get that LED back into the secondary hull. I used some Milliput to cover over my mistakes, sanded it, painted it, applied 2 new decals to that area, other replacements that I got from round 2, and it works. So that's what happened. As a result, I highly recommend doing one thing. I may have covered this in a previous video, but when you're putting that secondary hull circuit board in, I highly recommend covering the bottom with electrical tape. That way you're less likely to have a barb that will puncture a power wire. Secondly, I also clipped back one of the little tabs that the circuit board was designed to slot into the secondary hull. That way I could fiddle it a little bit further back. There's 3 tabs that still hold that circuit board down, so I'm not worried. But you could even cut both of the front tabs off, and using just the back tab still hold the circuit board in really nice. The rest of the wires keep everything nice and intact, and you shouldn't have a problem. So, but like I said, cover the bottom with electrical tape, and maybe you can avoid some of the issues I had. As it is, the circuit boards that I got, well, all the rest of the lights still work. Don't have any flashers, but I think I can find some use for these. So, there you have it. One almost complete Starship Enterprise model. As for other things, as before, when I put the secondary hull back together, I re-glued the neck pylon on and used microcrystal clear to cover up the seam and paint it over it, and it worked out pretty well. I did also do the same thing for the warp nacelles on the bottom. The nacelles, the warp putt engines themselves on top have not been permanently glued on. One thing I do like about the design of this kit is these engines are pretty doggone straight. You don't really have to expend that much effort to get these things straightened out. The bussard collectors, I did apply the Aztec dummy masks painted silver for the fan blades, and they turned out pretty good, I think. And yes, ion pods that have been the source of so much trouble are flashing properly. Incidentally, the ion pod that gave me the most trouble is the one on the starboard side. There's a little bit of a different paint sheen from where I did the touch-up, but if anybody asks, that's the, according to Remastered Star Trek, that's the ion pod that Ben Finney was in when they ejected it in an ion storm. So I'll say, okay, that was just repaint after it got damaged and had to limp into to Starbase in the episode Court Martial. As to what else is left, I've still got to put the bridge in on top. I've also got to put the lower sensor dome down here. The deflector dish is on and permanently fitted. The deflector dish mount is also in there. There was a little bit of a light leak in the front that I had to plug this morning. I did that with some black paint so deep back in there that you can't even really tell what color it is, so that worked out okay. Other thing I'll mention too, these little groove detail on the front of the secondary hull. It's supposed to protrude out, but I cracked it off in a couple areas on both sides, and so what I did was I just sanded it flush to the front. I had thought about pulling those pieces off and using another set from another kit, but it looks okay. I wasn't gonna fight with it, not after what happened last time I tried to make an improvement that resulted in me taking one step forward and two steps back. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. Oh yes, the outer domes are frosted. I went ahead and sprayed Tester's dull coat on those, and when you turn the power off, they look right. When you turn them on, it diffuses the light in there in the circuit very, very nicely. So, should have it done on Wednesday. I'll shoot one more video, and that'll be that. As for my next project, it's probably not going to be science fiction related. I don't know. I might do a quickie Star Trek project, but I think it's either going to be aircraft related or race car related. The movie Rush came out in September, and I'd like to do a model of a couple models of the Formula One cars that appeared in that film. So, but you know me. If there's a project that comes around that I really like, I'll go ahead and do it and press on, and if I can, I'll try to shoot a YouTube video to show you the results. I appreciate you guys subscribing to my videos, and I hope I've been able to share quite a few techniques. I mean, I'm not the best videographer in the world by any means, and although I consider myself a pretty good modeler, I'm by no means the best modeler out there. I mean, several of you guys do work that blows mine out of the water, but at the same time too, I like to show people that as long as you just have an idea and the ambition to do something, you can achieve many great things. This model is a classic example of it, and you can accomplish similar deeds. All you got to do is just put your mind to it, apply the effort, and just do it. Don't just sit back dreaming about it, just do it, and in the end, you'll surprise yourself. So in any event, thank you for watching, and here's to a good 2014 season, and here's hoping that all your model projects are just as successful as mine, if not more so.